Yeah, those GoPro cameras are getting pretty good, to be honest. Like, I'm surprised at the footage that I get sent. I'm just like, damn.
I remember Hero 4 came out and I watched that video with like the horses and like the lava. And I don't know if you remember that one. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Looks sick.
Yeah.
And then like my friend got the Hero 4 and we started shooting with him. Like, this looks terrible. Like, are they lying to us? Do they have like a special model that like,
Yeah, I know, huh?
where you go to ISO 800 and it doesn't look like a toaster shot it? Like, what the fuck? Are you in San Diego? Or I thought you're Bay Area, right?
Yeah, so I was raised in the Bay Area, and then I came out to San Diego for college. Graduated last December, and so I've
Nice.
just been out here. Yeah.
Right. Well,
Where
what
are
do
you
you?
guys at? I don't even know.
We're in Toronto,
Oh, okay.
Toronto,
Nice.
Canada. You know the
I gotta
six.
visit there, man.
It's okay. Come in the summer. Don't
Oh,
come in the winter.
Yeah, you have to come in
Okay.
the summer. You'll be miserable in the winter.
Summer
Yeah.
is beautiful here. Like, it's
Really?
unbelievable. Like I walk around the city. I'm just like, I'm blessed that I'm here
Yeah.
for 8 months, and then, you know, right now it's not the best. A little
That
slushy,
sucks.
a little slushy. You know,
Yeah,
stop
I'm
running.
definitely a California boy, so I don't know if I could take all the snow and stuff.
Exactly.
But yeah, Toronto seems dope. There's a cool culture, like, kind of coming from there. There's a lot of rappers that come from there.
A lot
that
of
too.
like music is big here.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of shitload of producers, like music producers came from the Toronto area. Like rappers is not, I don't think, as big as the producers. Seems like every guy,
Pressa Armani.
he just dropped, dude. I don't know if you listened to it, but
You guys gotta put me on. Put me on.
you don't know Pressa?
No.
Kenna Goosefer? Come on.
Oh, you know what you're saying right now.
That's
But yeah, link me. I'm always
yeah.
down to listen to new
I'll
stuff.
send you. Do you like that? Are you into that high pitch, like squeaky type rap? It's kind of like Uzi popularized it with that high voice.
Honestly, if I'm like buzz or I'm trying to dance or something, then yeah, I can get with it. But I'm usually more into like the chill rap, J. Cole,
Okay.
stuff
Yeah.
like that.
You were a big For Your Eyes Only guy, or what?
I was, yeah. But definitely Forest Hills Drive. It's like my favorite.
Oh,
album.
that album's crazy. There's
Classic.
a story. I watched The Genius on the guy who he like broke down how he didn't know role models. Have you seen that video?
Yeah.
Like his story of like he was like picking up his girl from work, and he's like driving over, and then all of a sudden the melody like da-na-na-na-na-na came in his head, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Babe, I'm just
Hold
gonna
up.
get you an Uber. I'll talk to you later." And he just
That's
goes,
crazy.
gets on
Gotta
FL,
go.
drops the loop, and then one of the biggest tracks of the 2010s, right? So
Yeah.
I think it was worth it, babe. I know like you were mad at me for like a week after
the
that, and I
moment.
slept on the couch, but
Thanks.
we're rolling in it, so shut your fucking mouth.
That was
I
the
can
Anyways.
take
producer,
you to
right?
Nobu now.
What'd you say?
That was the producer, right?
Yeah, the producer.
Yeah. Okay. yeah,
Maybe
I
he got
remember that.
fucked. Honestly, these producers sometimes make loops, send it out, and then, they
Yeah.
steal your IP. It's no good. I originally found your work. The video is from, I was like on Ty Rogers' page. And then I saw he was
wow.
tagged in one of your posts. I was looking through his like tag stuff, just like seeing who he like works with.
Yeah.
And he did your sound effects for that. Who is the edit for? It was like a couple runs. Let me find the guy's name. Roman Flynn.
Rome
Rome
Flynn?
Flynn, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, how do you know Ty? Like, was it mixed through, people you were working with? Like, how'd you get connected?
I don't even really know Ty like that. It's just someone I look up to.
Yeah.
And I used some of his sound effects, so I tagged him in it. Just
Oh,
hoping that
damn.
He respond.
Did you buy his
Yeah.
pack?
I did, yeah. About the
Is it-
sound effects pack.
Well worth the buy. I was thinking about, like, I look at
Yeah.
his stuff. I fucking love it.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say so. And just to support him as a creator, I felt like it's definitely worth it.
Exactly.
Um,
Have you ever thought of doing like football and stuff like he does?
oh, for sure. Definitely thought about it. Yeah, want to get into MMA too, if I can. Like, want to
Well,
venture out into other sports.
You're in the
But,
spot. You're in the like California.
Yeah.
That's the hotbed.
And I didn't even really know that. So I met someone who works in the industry, in the MMA industry, like probably a couple months ago. But like apparently even San Diego is like a really popular spot for like Brazilian jiu-jitsu and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I actually train jiu-jitsu. I've been doing it since 2015 in Toronto.
Oh,
It's a pretty
nice.
good scene here, but it's mainly
Yeah.
like in the gi. So it's, like the kimono with the belt and shit.
Yeah.
It's like traditional. Not a whole lot of Nogi out here, but San Diego's like, they got Atos. I don't know if you know that gym.
I don't know.
Huge gym. Superstars come
You're
out of there.
geeking out on this guy with
Yeah, I
jujitsu.
know.
Even I
Dude.
feel lost. I don't know what's going on right now.
There are so many gyms out there. Like, are you like downtown area or are you more in the
I am,
outskirts?
yeah, right in downtown.
Man, you gotta check out Atos because, fuck, they got a lot going on there. They just had Izzy there.
yeah.
He was training there for a month. Do you know Stylebender?
Yeah. Oh shit, he was here.
Yeah, he was
Yeah, I
training
only know him by
at
his
Atos.
nickname.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Stylebender. That
I'm the
guy's
same way.
That
Yeah.
guy's a superstar.
Yeah, I'm not like too into it, but I want to get into it, you know. So
I mean, you're in the spot.
yeah,
I mean, holy shit.
for sure. I think that's just like kind of been like the story of my life the last couple of years. You know, that's why I haven't moved back to the Bay, just because there's so much opportunity out here.
Yeah.
Even being in San Diego, it's so close to LA, like close enough where I can drive 2 hours, whatever it is. And
Well, yeah, at the right time of the day, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just
Well,
waiting the
yeah.
3 o'clock rush. No, I've heard stories like guys driving from LA to San Diego. It's like 5 hours with the traffic.
I mean, lately with COVID, it's been chilling. So
It's been a dream.
yeah, it's been chill.
It's almost like you wanted
Well-
to go back, but it's a bit like, you don't want the traffic, right?
Right.
What were you gonna say,
I'm
Mos?
scrolling through your Instagram right now, and it looks like you have every single one of like the big hoopers. Like you have Bronny, you have Mikey Williams right now, and these guys are going to be NBA guys in a couple of years. How much would you say that like living in the Bay Area, living in San Diego, how much has that enabled you to just like be a part of this basketball culture? I look at something like overtime, which when I graduated high school in 2016 wasn't even a thing. And now I can't get on Instagram without seeing them blowing up my feed. And it just feels like basketball has been a rocket ship in terms of like culture and just like taking over Instagram the past couple of years. Like, how has that been to be a part of that?
Yeah, 100%. Like the culture and the way it's moved has been like so exponential, and I feel like it really set the tone for other sports. And I think I've just been really lucky to be in this area because I didn't even really, because I used to use a camera back in like middle school, and then throughout college I was focusing more on motion graphics and design stuff. I wanted to work at like a design agency.
Always the place for that.
Yeah, right. It is. And I thought that would be my career and stuff like that. And I think it still could be later on. But like during my senior year of college, I was at like a low tier like design agency, just doing motion graphics and posting stuff for social media. And then I saw, are you guys familiar with Cool Mac?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
He's crazy.
He's crazy
nuts.
on a couple fronts. Like he's like making basketballs or designing like a basket. Do you see that
Yeah, yeah.
SpongeBob one?
Yeah, he's creating his own products. It's really
It's
dope.
nuts.
Definitely setting the tone. And when I saw him do that, I was just like, you know what? Like, I've loved basketball my whole life. I played it. Like, why am I not shooting it? And then I was just lucky that Mikey Williams is in my city. Went out to a couple games and got contacted by Bleacher Report, and then stuff just started rolling from there. So to go back to your question, I just think being in the right area has been, it's been everything for me, for sure.
Well, I wonder how much of it is just like looking through, like I see some of these photos and it's like the creativity and like the art that goes into it has almost elevated basketball in a weird way, where I think that hasn't happened in a sport like football or hockey, because like the players are so much more covered. You can't really like see their personality in their faces. Whereas like it's almost like portrait photography in a really real way. If you look through your feed, like there's so much, I mean, like energy and emotion that's captured into this snap. Like for you, like what inspires your creativity, and like where did that come from? Was it always like day one just because you had that passion and love for basketball, or was it something that like evolved as you kind of like learned the program and learned the software? Like what I'm really asking is like what inspires you with your creativity with basketball?
Yeah, I think being a former like hooper and playing basketball, and then also just a fan of the sport, just wanting to capture like these up and coming kids in like their best element and really try to tell a story with like each photo I take, or try my best at least. Not all of them are perfect, but yeah, I think I'm just inspired by the game itself. I'm a big fan of the game.
It almost like lends itself to content creation. I find like when I'm watching it, like there's almost every time there's possession, there's chance for a high impact play, and not just chance, like always something sick happens. So it's almost like it lends itself to video and photo, where you look at like a hockey, I shoot a lot of hockey. It's like a lot of the time I'm shooting, it's like, fuck, like it's all stuff I throw out. And then it's almost like you're fishing when you're shooting hockey. It's like you're filming, like, is something going to happen? And then for the most part, nothing of like use actually happens in the shooting process. And it's exhausting when you're going through the clips too. But basketball, it's like every possession, there's just some sort of clippable moment, whether it's just like a cool footwork play, or it's like a nice pass, or, you know, they dunk or drain a three. It's like, it just lends itself easily.
Yeah, I think it depends on what games you're at. I've definitely been to some games where, you know, ain't shit going on. It's like the worst basketball I've ever seen. But yeah, for sure, I think compared to other sports, there's probably a lot more opportunity here and there. But I think what helps is me playing the game before and just knowing what might come next, or where I need to be focusing my lens and stuff like that.
Exactly. Are you shooting on like a DSLR? What are you shooting on?
GoPro.
You shoot everything on a GoPro? You fucker. I'm looking at your Instagram, I'm like, this guy. What the fuck? I need to rethink how I'm shooting things.
No, I started with the Sony A6300.
Oh, the standard starter. That's a good starter camera, I have to say.
It is, yeah. It's a really good starter. And then I moved to the A7 III probably like 6 to 7 months after. Yeah.
That's dope.
And then I'm using primarily 2 lenses, just the 28 to 75 Tamron, and then the 70 to 180, both Tamron lenses.
That's dope. And like, do you have any like relationships with these athletes? Like, is that how you're getting in on these runs and whatnot? Or like, how do you get hooked up shooting some of these games or practices?
Yeah, so that's one thing where I think like that could really benefit me, is if I were to able to build better relationships with these athletes. The ones that I've taken pictures of and stuff like that, they're really high caliber, and everyone wants their attention, you know, like different brands, so many people. So I haven't been able to develop like that close of a relationship with much of them. I've seen Mikey a lot just behind the scenes, just because he's in San Diego, and I shot some stuff with Overtime, like on his documentary series, because I got cool with the head like video creator for Overtime, who's like running Mikey's documentary. What was the original question?
I was just saying like the relationships you have, or like you say you don't have like tight ones, but like I guess we can transition into like when I shoot hockey, like I'm getting to know these kids. Like we talk about the sticks. I have a friend I work with, like he really networks and talks with all of them, and like that's opened us up to shoot a lot more, and they're more comfortable with us because they're like, yo, you get it, you know? Whereas you think about a guy who's in video and like back in the day, it's like they just kind of have a skill set, show up to shoot. Yeah. And the players are like, yeah, they're the video guy. But now you're starting to see, we just actually did a podcast with this guy, Leo the Creator. Don't know if you've heard of him on Instagram. He works at U of M. He played football and started doing video with the team in the school, and all the players like trust him because like when he talks, like he gets it. So like you played ball, when you're talking to these guys, like there's maybe a different level of trust. Yeah, and I'd say it probably helps that he's on like an actual team, you know, like with the college and stuff like that. That's definitely something I'm looking for in my future. I want to work with hopefully get to the pro level, work with an NBA team. And then from there, I think I'd be able to build those conversations for sure. Just because I know a little bit more about, you know, what I'm talking about, and I actually care about, you know, basketball and stuff like that. Well, you say you want to work with the team, and you know, I've thought about that with like the NHL, and sometimes I think though, like there's something freeing about the freelance experience, you know, like you're in control, it's like your thing. And sometimes I wonder though, would it be good to be on a team like that, where it's like you're a salaried employee, they give you a schedule? Like, do you ever think about, is the goal to be a freelancer forever, or do you want to also maybe just be an employee somewhere and help grow someone's vision in that sense? Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff to that. Like ideally, I would love to freelance for multiple different professional teams and travel and just kind of be my own entity. But I know that for the most part, that's not like how it works at the pro level. You know, usually they need a guy who's committed, you know. I don't know how is it for the NHL? Like, are you able to freelance and bounce around? I mean, when I'm saying like freelance, I kind of mean like you work with an athlete. So, for example, I forget the athlete's name, superstar NFL quarterback on the Jags. No,
Cam Newton.
Cam
Are you
Newton.
thinking of a tie?
Listen, I don't know anything about NFL,
sports
so
guy.
thanks for coming in here.
Sports guy.
I'm the hockey guy, sort of, kind of. But yeah, he works with Cam Newton, freelance, obviously, and I guess there's a bit more control there, and doesn't work with any teams. That's kind of what I'm talking about when freelancing.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to do that. Just in short, like if it was the right person, I vibe with them and feel like they would let me be me and create. I think that would definitely be a dope opportunity. But at the same time, I also feel like I still have a lot to learn. And I feel like joining a team or joining an established place for a little bit at least, where I can learn the ropes and even develop my craft even further, like, you know, with different detail than I would by myself, you know, that'd be dope. So if I could understudy like a Ty Rogers, shit, that'd be sick.
that would be sick.
Yeah.
That'd be nasty. I want to jump into what you had just talked about, right? Like part of the game is learning and keeping yourself interested and like trying new techniques. And the other part of it is like you have to put out the finished product sometimes. You have to put out the video that looks really good. How much do you think about balancing those two? Because I think a lot of the times, at least when I'm trying to learn new stuff, like it's just like it just feels like hours and hours of messing up. And I was like, oh, I got really close to this thing that I wanted to do, but it's not quite there. So how do you square away like learning versus like putting out work?
Yeah, well, I think putting out work and posting is something I definitely need to get better at. I kind of stopped myself from posting just because I feel like it's not up to par, but yeah, I don't know.
I gotta check you on that because I look at your social, like I followed you for a few months now. I'm like, you put out a lot and it's dope. Like, what do you mean you don't put out stuff?
Oh, you think so? Okay, shit. I know some people post like, you know, every week. You see it a lot with creators. I know you guys have talked about like Peter McKinnon and, you know, Daniel Schiffer. Like they're posting like 3-4 times a week. And I feel like that's necessary for growth. It's just with my job and everything hasn't been like priority, but I think I want to ultimately.
Well, it's tough, right? Because you want to make good stuff, but sometimes you don't have the time to do that. And then we talked about on the podcast, like, is it worth it to constantly be putting in like 20 hours, 30 hours on an edit just to post once on social media? You know, like it's almost like not necessary these days. Like personally, my girlfriend started on TikTok. She's a personal trainer. And I mean, I think she started posting in like a couple weeks. She grew like 50,000 followers. And then now it's blowing up her Instagram and like she's training people online and stuff. And you look at her content and it's not good video wise, but people connect with it, girls connect with it, and they want to like work with her. So it's like, how do you square away in your brain, you know, you want to make the best stuff, but you know, what's the best strategy for social media? It's to be consistent and make good stuff. It doesn't have to be the best. How do you like compartmentalize that in your brain?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely something I struggle with. I don't think like I'm there yet in terms of understanding how to manage it all. For me, I want to post whatever I think is quality, and it's not always the case. Like a lot of the work I do a lot of work that's like behind the scenes for different apparel brands, but I just don't feel like, you know, like posting, I guess. I don't know.
No, I feel you, but like, like how many times have you posted a video where you're like, this is gonna pop, and you're like, this is sick, and then it doesn't. Then you post one where you're like, I don't know about this, I think it's pretty good, and it goes crazy. You know, it's almost like you don't know.
It happens all the time, and it's like, I guess you just can never know what the algorithm is going to spit out to you. I think TikTok is definitely something that I need to venture into. I think it's a good opportunity to show like who I am and kind of give people more like a sense of who I am and stuff like that. Connect with my audience on a different level, because I think that's one thing I need to get better on Instagram too, is like showing who I am.
Right. Well, do you get a lot, like you have a pretty big following with 6,000 followers, and like, do you get a lot of comments or DMs like asking what's up and like trying to connect with you? Is that what you're finding?
Definitely getting a lot of messages like how did I do certain things? I'm sure you guys get it all the time too. Like I
get some, but like I don't have a huge, like, I'm getting more followers recently, but like I just wonder like how do you, or even me, like create content for your social where it's like, yeah, watch it and get hype, but then also be like, I guess, showing people how to do things. It's
I think a lot of people do some interesting things when Daniel Schiffer shows his behind the scenes. I tried to do that a couple times, like on the Rome Flynn edit. But I think it's being on all the social media platforms in order to grow. It's probably the main thing. I need to move to TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. It's something that I'm interested in doing.
Do you see yourself being like more of like, you know, the talent in front of the camera, or are you like me where it's like a fucking struggle? Like I don't like being on camera. I have to do a breathing exercise before I get on camera, you know?
Hey, send me that breathing exercise because it's definitely tough and it's an adjustment, but I feel like we all have our own like story to tell and our own perspective that's different than what's out there. So even if it doesn't succeed immediately, you know, you gotta just keep trying.
Well, like, let's get into your story. Like how did you pick up the first camera you had? Like what was there, like a creator you saw and were like aspire to be or got inspired by? Like I'm fascinated to see who like got you on this train.
Yeah, so it's kind of come from multiple different areas. My mom was actually a like studio photographer. I don't know if you guys have this out there in like malls, you know, where they shoot like family portraits and stuff that. Yeah, like the annoying ones. My mom was one of those people, and then my dad actually used to design websites like back in the 90s, and then he put that down for a while. But that didn't really like connect with me until later. Like it was kind of interesting that I was doing similar stuff, and then I actually started video editing because I was editing montages for Call of Duty.
Oh, let's go!
No way.
That's how I got started too, man.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of our generation. We just start that way.
How old are you? Like when were you born?
I'm 23.
Year? So you're 97 or 96?
Yeah, 97.
97. What were you in any clans? Let's talk some shop. What clans were you in?
Montage or two out there.
Well, HD PVR.
Myself, but, huh?
Did you buy the PVR, the Hopog?
Oh yep. I had the HD PVR.
Nice.
It was like a big fat box. So I started out as like if we want to get into it, I started out as like a quick scoper in like
nice.
COD 4 and MW2, and then I just only cared about winning in the next Call of Duty, so I started doing like more game battles type stuff.
So you got competitive. You didn't go too deep.
Not like super serious, but like I would play like private lobbies and you know try out for teams and stuff like that.
Nice. So like you weren't like I was getting into like the trick shot scene, so I was like,
okay.
Do you remember like High Global or like Link Just trick shotting? These are like I guess a bit more niche, but I was just editing those videos. You know,
nice.
Trying to like.
Were you on Premiere or Sony Vegas?
Sony Vegas Pro 10. That was the software of choice, and like the goal was always to get in FaZe Clan, like get good enough at editing to join FaZe, and like look where they are now. How crazy is that? They just started the way you and I did.
Yeah, isn't that insane? Like they just signed Bronny, like a basketball player. Like
it's
so
crazy.
Random. Like the way our like culture and social media has exploded is insane.
So you started editing COD montages and stuff that you were in, and I'm sure your buddies were in. So like, where'd it go from there?
From there, during high school, I had to put it down, just focus on school, playing tennis and basketball. And then from there, I started picking up like a real DSLR, picked a little Canon Rebel T2i, and that's just because Instagram was starting to get popping, and my dad he was like an early like person on Instagram. He would take like, have you guys heard of 13th Witness?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Dope.
Is that like the animated photo guy?
I don't know if he does animated, but he's like
maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, but he's definitely like an OG Instagram photographer, and I was just inspired by that. Like I just thought it was really dope that he was taking a lot of landscapes and a lot of street photography stuff. And my dad was doing it, so sometimes I would just go with him and go shoot. So in high school, it was a lot of landscapes, a lot of like city stuff since I was in San Francisco anyways.
Yeah, San Fran might be one of the best city photography places. I was there like 2019 summer. I was literally like jaw dropped at some of the scenery. It looked like a painting in the distance, you know?
Yeah, I think I take it for granted though. Like being in San Diego, the last time I went back, I was like, wow, like this is actually like super sick city.
Insane.
And then where did you make the jump from shooting landscapes, kind of dabbling with Instagram, to like connecting your creativity with basketball and the sport that you had grown up with your whole life and that you obviously loved?
Throughout college, I was more in the design space because I thought that's where I would find my career. And I was learning a lot of motion graphic stuff. And so that's kind of where I learned some of my skill set. And in my senior year, I saw some people blowing up on Instagram shooting basketball content. And I was like, I know how to use a camera from back then. and I love basketball. So why not try to include it in my life and be around it as much as possible?
Like even I look like at a brand at like Nike, and I like before this they were just kind of like they did running events, they had these stores, but now like they're throwing like these experiential events where it's like they'll take 100 Air Max ones and be like they'll invite a bunch of influencers in and they'll be like, okay, like now you can customize the shoe and now we're gonna do like a photo shoot, and there's all these like crazy experiential events, and I think that stems directly from this culture that basketball has created. So for me, like that's been crazy to watch, and I think it's guys like you who are like really pushing that culture forward with like the content and the creativity, and it's like it's all connected, like you said earlier, which it's been like, as somebody who didn't grow up with basketball and like I'm a hockey guy through and through, it's definitely been cool to watch how that sport has evolved.
Yeah, and we were talking about it a little bit, like byproduct of that culture is it's elevated the game and exposed the game to more people around the world, and kind of like made it cool in a way to play basketball.
Even if you suck like me, I'm terrible. I'm not great at basketball, but I try.
Yeah, and I hope that bleeds into other sports, because I was talking with some baseball players recently, and they were saying like the media, like definitely a little bit more old school, and I encourage anyone out there to like jump to different sports if you can. It's definitely something that I'm trying to do, elevate it.
The tough thing is like people don't think baseball's, I mean, there are a lot of people who think it's cool, and a lot of people think hockey's cool, but like you talk to the majority of people, they don't know much about hockey or really care, and it's like not the cool thing to like post online. Whereas now like basketball, this company, won't mention them, might be working with them soon, and like they were telling me like we need a hockey guy because everyone's like, I just want to do basketball, I just want to do like whatever the other sports are. It's like no one wants, not enough people want to do these other sports because it's not as like cool.
I think that's definitely true. Like a lot of people come to basketball just because they like the culture and like the hype and the clout, whatever it is. But if you're like a creator and you just love like the art of it, then you're going to go to whatever sport and tell the story the right way, Like for me, posting stuff, like I'm just lucky that it's basketball, but I just like telling the story and trying to create something that I think is cool.
Right. Let's circle back to the motion design stuff because I had a little technical difficulty. So what were you guys talking about? Can you tee it up here, Mose?
Yeah, for sure. I was just asking like kind of where that came from. And then I think what I would really like to kind of service and talk about is that you went through motion design school in college, and then right before you're graduating, you were telling me that you kind of just switched it up because you weren't liking the kind of work that you're doing. And then after it, it's like you just took something that you're doing in college and then applied that creativity somewhere else. And now like coming out of college, you had a completely different line of work. So if you want to just kind of take us through that, I think it's an incredible story.
I started out as a marketing major my first year because I thought that I needed to get like a business degree in order to make money. And then I just wasn't feeling the classes. So I thought, okay, maybe I'm gonna go into art because I've always been interested in the creative side that we've talked about like back in middle school and stuff like that. And so I chose a multimedia degree. And my school was really behind. So it was kind of like BS. I don't know if you guys feel the same way about the schools like that you went to, but I feel like I didn't learn too much. But what it did do was expose me to certain areas of like art that, I feel like I could develop a career out of. And one of those classes was like an intro, like motion design class. And it was basically like intro to After Effects. And I was just learning that. And I thought it was really fun to like, it's kind of weird. I thought it was fun to keyframe and create animations that look smooth and stuff like that.
Even though it's super tedious.
Yeah, it's super tedious, but there's little tools and little tips and tricks here and there that make it easier. So yeah, during my second semester, I was like, okay, like I can make a career out of this. So I sought out for like internships where I could apply that. I was telling Mose that I ended up working at like a mid-tier marketing agency. And basically we were developing content for a wide range of brands, from like breweries to dog toys to makeup like products. And I was just like, man, like I don't love this. Like I don't want to create content for someone else's brand that I don't necessarily fuck with, and like I could make a career out of it and just kind of go along like the next 20 years. And that to me would feel like I'd be stuck in this like 9 to 5, And so at that point, that's when I picked up a camera and was like, I love basketball, like just make some shit happen. And I knew like it was kind of popping in my area in San Diego and LA. So I knew I could make these opportunities happen if I just got my foot in the door.
So where do you see motion design playing into your work the most? Like, are you looking to eventually, we look at a guy like Gibson Hazard, do you know who that is?
Yeah, of course.
Like he does incredible like Cinema 4D. It's not necessarily motion graphics, but he's incorporating animations that he's making within video and photo. Like where do you see yourself taking basketball or the fashion stuff you're doing? Like where do you see yourself taking motion design in that?
I think so. I think having that skill set has definitely landed me like so many more jobs, you know, just being able to do the video part and then also creating an ad on top of that has been really, really helpful. And I think just to go back to like Gibson Hazard and stuff like that, I think art's always been a thing where we kind of blend whatever like mediums we have and try to tell a story and just make it interesting, you know? So motion graphics, I think mostly it'll play a part in definitely the apparel side when I'm trying to create advertisements and engaging commercials and stuff like that.
So I want to take this to like the production side. Like, can you like walk us through, let's say you're going to a basketball, just like a practice, like a run or something, like when you're headed there, like how are you planning before doing it? Like when you get there, what are you thinking? And, you know, like how do you plan for a shoot? Like walk us through your process.
It depends on what the shoot is, but like I'm smiling because for like those runs and stuff like that, I'm literally just freestyling the whole thing. I just show up and whatever they do, like, you know, try to feed off that and whatever moments happen, just try to capture it. Just try to capture the moment. And then later in post, like you'll be able to create something out of it. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, but do you ever go in with like a technique that you want to try, like some sort of edit thing? Like, are you going in with some like ideas you want to see if you can pull off out of the run?
Yeah, sometimes. Lately, I haven't been too inspired to try like new effects, but I think what I pride myself on doing is like trying to shoot photo and video at both at a pretty decent level, and I try to incorporate both of that into my work. And I don't think a lot of people do that.
Not enough.
So that's something that I definitely plan to do. Is like I try to get like dope photos and like really dope video too.
So are you just going back and forth? Like you'll shoot photos for like 10 minutes and then you'll shoot video, or like, are you kind of lining yourself up for the photos to get something similar to something you've already shot? Yeah.
So I have two settings on my camera and I'm just going back and forth, not even 10 minutes, like, you know, in the span of 2 minutes, I'll switch back and forth like 3 times. And I'm like running around the court too, like doing whatever I can.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you pull in the editing suite, like I want to hear what you have to say. Cause like I was saying, we just did a podcast with Leo. And he's like, dude, you don't even want to see my timeline. It's a disaster. Like I'm all over the place, clips everywhere. Like, are you the same? Are you messy in there? Or are you one of these guys who's super organized?
No, yeah, I'm the opposite. I'm very like OCD about my timeline and trying to keep it clean. Yeah. Like, and I think it almost makes my work like take longer, you know? But for me, it just helps me organize like, you know, what I can do to plan everything out. And I think that stems from being in the corporate world or having, you know, marketing agency job or video editing for GoPro. It's like, you can't have a messy timeline like that. Like you have to be clean and precise with everything and have everything make sense. Cause if someone else jumps in on the project, they're not gonna be able to keep up. You're gonna have to sync for like 30 minutes explaining to them like what's connected here. So
are you one of those, are you like me where you're a psycho making a million folders, named all these different things?
Yeah.
In the software, you got your sequences lined up, named, color coded. Are you one of those guys? That's
something that I started doing recently. I started color coding my selects. Like even pulling selects, I didn't really do that before.
That's a big one people don't talk about. Like having one sequence where it's like just cutting and pulling it, and then a different one is your main.
Yeah, and I feel like that's helped my like workflow so much in terms of being able to tell a story. Like it's essential, dude. And then I split it up between like B-roll, like anything crazy, I'll like highlight gold and stuff like that. So it's all color coded, super neat.
Yeah, that's how you got to do it, man. That's exactly how you have to do it. But I want to talk about like vertical video, and I've been doing a lot more the last year and I'm loving it. But then Mo's showed me this tweet from Ty Rogers where he's like, hot take, he like thinks vertical video is bad for content. Like and his reason for that is like, it just doesn't tell as much of a story. You don't get to show as much. It kind of makes composition and images like cheaper. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I agree. And I heard you guys talk about this on past podcasts. Like, I agree that it's definitely less cinematic. And you can tell that Ty Rogers is like a purist of like film and stuff like that. And that's stuff that I love more. But in terms of the medium that it's on, like, Instagram, TikTok, even, like, that's not even like cinematic at all. But it just depends on what you're trying to achieve, like, for your audience, what you're trying to show them. And so I feel like everything has a place.
It's what people like. It's kind of like, that's the dilemma like artists go into. It's like you want to do what's authentically true to you, but at the same time, you're kind of also serving the people that watch. So if they want vertical video, you kind of have to do that. No, like, isn't it really the audience that dictates the art in a way?
I think it is, if that's your goal. If your goal is to build an audience, then like, yeah. But if your goal is just to put out quality work that you feel would get you jobs, in terms of, like, say you reach out to someone and a client sees your cinematic work, you're not necessarily putting it out there for the little 5-year-olds on overtime, So it just depends who your audience is. And I'm kind of caught in between that. I try to do my best to make the vertical video as, like, cinematic as possible. But another thing, you guys didn't really touch on it before, but one thing that GoPro does is they'll shoot their content in 4x5 and upload it like that.
Yeah.
That way it takes a little bit more screen real estate than the normal 16:9. And so I know you guys may want to try that out.
I shoot on the GH5. I don't know if it has 4x5 to shoot. I know photos for sure.
Yeah.
I shoot 4x5 photos, but video, I'm going to check that out.
Well, yeah. Or you could just crop it. That's what I do sometimes.
I want to talk a little bit about the intersection between motion graphics and video, because I think it's tough. Like, they almost demand so much attention individually that it's hard to get them to mix. And what me and Will bounce work off each other all the time. And I'm like, oh, this would be a great idea to do this. And then he's like, but the motion graphic or the effect that you're going for, like, it gets in the way of the story I'm trying to tell. And I'm looking at some videos on your profile where it's like, you have this video that I'm looking at in particular where it's this hooper dribbling, and you have like this text in the background. And then right when I think it's going to jump into video, like, it's not video, it's like this really cool kind of stop motion effect. Does that just come from experimenting? Like, where do these ideas come from for you? And how do you balance making a really sick motion graphic piece and integrating that motion graphic piece with video in a way where, like, they're not competing, because they are things that take up so much kind of visual real estate, I guess. And it's not easy to make them work together. Like, it's very hard. Yeah,
I agree. It's super tough. I think just like how you edit any photo, there's contrast between light and dark. I think with video, you have to, if you're trying to mix media, you got to find the right balance of contrast between, that my stop motion stuff and photos and whatever else I throw in there. It is tough. It is just from experimenting, and I don't even know if it always works. I feel like sometimes my stuff can get a little messy, but yeah, just trial and error and whatever you think looks right, In terms of motion graphics, like, what are you specifically talking about? Because I know everyone has different labels for everything. Like, when I think of motion graphics, I think of like text animations and stuff like that. Or some people, some people think of like Gibson Hazard 3D animations and stuff like that. So
I'm not in that playing field yet. It's something where I want to get into it, but every time I look at a 3D package, I'm like, there is no way that I could just learn this package on my own. I was speaking directly about like type animation. I think what me and Will talk about the most, probably, if he's like trying to get my thoughts on a video, is like, where can I put type here? Or like, I put type here and it doesn't look good. Like, what do I do? So maybe for him, even like, what are the things that you're thinking about with type and video? Because the ball is life video I'm looking at right now. I think that's a really elegant way to bring in type, where it's like the type kind of sits on top. It's the love for the game getting deeper, swipe through for frames. And there's even other stuff here, like, this feels very native to vertical video, where like you have frames stacked on each other. Sometimes you have video that's like overlaid on top of other video. And this kind of goes back to this culture of basketball, where it's like, I am seeing a ton of innovation with what we're doing with video. And it's not just this idea that the video has to sit on the screen by itself, but there's so much here to unpack. I don't even know where to start. Because I think this is a great example of something where it's like this style and this all the effects that are going on here, it feels like very native to the culture. And it's something that, like, if I was part of hoop culture, like, this would feel something that just screams to me as authentic.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's like a really high compliment.
He's good at
those. I think because it's in apparel, or because I was trying to make an ad for Ball is Life. The text was essential. I think you have to have that. Like I said before, it just depends on what the goal is for the content. You know, I don't think motion graphics always has a place, and especially what we do, especially in sports media. I don't think we always need a title of the kid's name. Like, people will go insane. I don't know if you guys have seen some crazy basketball mixes, but people definitely have a different style. I just think everything has a purpose. It just depends on what type of content you're trying to put out.
Well, when working with like a Ball is Life and whatnot, and you say you come from a bit of a marketing background, like when dealing with like clients in that regard, are you coming at it purely as a creative, or are you bringing in like, how can I also give them content to help their marketing plan? So it's not just like a one and done video. It's like, how do I give them as much bang for their buck? Yeah,
I think with any person that I work with, whether it's a bigger client or just a trainer or, you know, just a random hooper who needs a mix for their JUCO mixtape or whatever, like, I try to provide as much value as I can. I think that's the ultimate like thing that we can do, is just provide value. And so when I'm creating ads and stuff like that, I still have a lot to learn. Like, I don't know if this was necessarily the most effective way to sell clothes. And I'll talk to my clients after and see what I can get from the insights and try to learn from that.
I love that. I want to stay on this Ball is Life ad just for another second here, because
we
started this conversation earlier about like, you find yourself in this spot where you're like, I do want to post more, but you have this bar that you set for yourself, and it's like, I want to put out quality. This to me is like the perfect example, especially like, I get that part of the context is that you are trying to sell clothing here, and that like you took photographs of the people regardless. That was part of the process. But what I always like, videographers sometimes approach me and they're like, how do I tell a story that's more than just a single video? And for me, like, you've turned this carousel from a single asset into almost like the digital version of a magazine, where it's like you have this really interesting video at the front, and then you have all these photos that you can swipe through and you can look through the product. How much are you thinking about like augmenting that one piece of content that you put a bunch of time in with like smaller stuff, so it's almost like you're extending the value of the content by like giving people more to kind of scroll through? Because I think it's really interesting, whether or not you did that intentionally or not, like you almost created a story outside of this this video that you made.
Yeah, I think I just had a lot of content from the shoot, you know, and I felt like a lot of it was like up to par, and I felt like posting it in terms of like, what was the last question that you had?
Well, I just thought it was awesome that like, so often we just focus on that one video that we do and we just post that one video, but it's like the story really, like, it kept going after that one video. And as somebody who just like saw this on your feed, I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to swipe through to the end of this. So with future videos that you release, is that something that's like top of mind? Like, because I think that was so cool.
Yeah, I think splitting, like creating as much content you can out of whatever you make is definitely important, whether that's behind the scenes or just showing another perspective. It just kind of I feel like it deepens the experience.
Yeah. And like, also think about how much footage that you throw away because it doesn't fit this specific video. It's like you only have like maybe 10% of the shit you shoot actually make it to the video. And I tell my clients, I'm like, okay, like you spend this much money on me, we shoot this, we do this one video, but I have all this other footage that I didn't use. Like, how can we use this? Whether I give it to you or like we think of other ideas in the future, it's like, not only are you helping the clients, but you're also like giving yourself more business in the future. The hard part is articulating that to the client, because they just, I don't know, they can be defensive sometimes. They don't want to like spend more money than they have to. Yeah,
I think building a relationship with your client too helps. If you guys are both on the same page about like why you're working together, and if you guys are genuinely working together like in order to like build something, then you'll be able to work that out. But yeah, repurposing content is everything, especially with all these different platforms. Like I'm starting to throw that into my packages where like there'll be photos for marketing purposes, but then also these videos. And like from a business perspective, you can tag a lot of stuff on and deliver a lot of value to the client.
Moving forward, like where do you see yourself taking, let's just say you don't do like the thing with the team or whatever, like what's like content like you want to make in the future? Like where do you think there's a place where you're like, okay, this is like what I want to do for the rest of my life in the content space?
You said besides a team?
Besides like a network thing, like I'm talking mainly freelance and as an individual. Like I feel like most people start individual, then they'll join a team and then they go individual again.
Yeah.
Like you saw that with Ty Rogers worked at NCAA and then he went, freelance. Like, do you see yourself going in that direction?
Yeah, I think following that path is definitely something that I'm looking at. Because I'd want to join a team or like a high-end agency. There's a lot of sports agencies that are developing content right now. Have you guys heard of Clutch Sports?
Yeah. There's actually somebody that came to mind when we were talking earlier. I was like, they have, I think it's Gradient Visuals. Maybe I'm getting the name wrong, but he's an unreal photographer. He's got like super unique style. And like Clutch is the biggest, but there's so many other agencies out there. Like, my old boss, at the design job that I was working is now working for CAA, and he's just crushing it. I see his designs all the time, and it was like a year ago they didn't care at all about social content. So there's a lot of innovation in that space happening as well. Yeah, and you're doing a lot of dope design shit. Like I bet you this is giving you like a portfolio that's just you're gonna be able to leverage that in the future too. But yeah, getting to a high level agency, like that would be dope because I feel like you have a little bit more freedom. You're not necessarily stuck with one team. You're kind of working with a bunch of different athletes. And I would like to do that until I feel like I'm ready to just freelance and do my own thing. Because I think being independent is it's a nice feeling to have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And what type of content do you think you want to make? Like, are you into like docs and commercial stuff, or do you kind of like the digital side?
Honestly, I think I'm starting to be more interested in like the long form documentary type stuff, because that's where I feel like you're really telling stories and like really getting deep into it and the framing. Like I want to get into like more cinematics type stuff and learn all that.
Get going with the lights. Like, do you have a nice lighting setup?
I actually just purchased a couple continuous like studio lights. Gonna start messing with those for product shoots and for just video shoots. So I guess increasing the production value is something I'm definitely interested in. And like creating like bigger things.
Did you go down the aperture rabbit hole of getting lights, or where did you get your lights from?
I went down the aperture rabbit hole, and then I was like, this is too expensive. And so I got a Godox light for now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So those are pretty much, they're just a little bit like cheaper made, but it's the same light. Like
exactly,
that Godox L60?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
That one's
I got that one. Fire. I got this little nan light. Super bright. And then I got another little small aperture. And I feel like that's enough to light my little studio. So
yeah, exactly.
So if I want to make YouTube videos or make product shots or whatever, like I got the equipment now.
I have one last question. I think you've been killing it. You are somebody who to me, like, you just put out super unique content that I don't see many other places. So I'm trying to selfishly, I am trying to reverse engineer this for me. Like, who are some of the creators that you look up to and get inspiration from? There's a bunch. Look at my Instagram real quick. I feel like we don't ask this question enough. So this is just me trying to get this question out more.
Yeah, these podcasts link me up with so many dope follows, like that Elite Sports page from
Elite Edge,
Elite
Unreal.
Edge.
If you don't follow them, you gotta
send me that. I think lately what I've been getting inspired by is a lot of the whoever does Puma hoops, and I mean obviously Nike basketball, but just to throw names out there, J Squared for photos, definitely like a leader in the photo realm. Gradient Visuals, Cool Mac obviously. Ty Rogers, Danny Gerverts, he's a YouTuber.
Oh yeah, he's good.
Yeah, we talk about him all the time. We love him. I just found him.
So sick. I feel like he's my favorite YouTuber just because I feel like he's really authentic and he's good at what he does.
Yeah, he's like personable. Like he just seems like a nice guy, to learn from.
Super authentic. RnR Visuals. He works with Shoe Palace and does a lot of their like design and stuff. He's a graphic designer and photographer. I feel like I take inspiration from a lot of things though. Every film I watch, I'm constantly like picking at. Like, dude, like I don't know if I can't watch a movie like the same way anymore. Now that I know how to do some of this stuff, like every moment I'm picking at like little different things. I do have one more question. Yeah. One more question. And maybe you haven't seen it, but have you seen Tenet? Because we had some hot takes on Tenet. Not yet. No. Where can I watch it at? Okay.
We shouldn't say anything, but you should go and try.
Okay. Yeah. Try.
It's one of those movies where you're like, there's a lot to digest. They give you so much. So I don't know.
The best tip to watch that movie is like, don't try to follow it. Just take it in. Like, don't overly think like, what do they mean? Like, what's going on here? Like, just sit back and just watch, because a lot happens. The pacing is crazy. So just like,
okay. Is it on Netflix?
No, probably not. I don't know. No. I think it might be in theaters still.
Okay.
Thanks so much for coming on, man. Is there anything you want to like plug before we close?
I mean, no, just follow me on Instagram. That's where you're gonna get most updates. And if anyone out there has questions or like, just hit me up. I'm always down to connect and spit some game or learn something from you guys. I just want to say you guys are doing a really dope job, like with the whole branding of render and repeat, like some RnR, and then like your designs are on point, like everything. Like just keep going.
Yeah, man. We just want to interview more guys like you, and whether they're, you know, further down the line or earlier down the line of video like content creation. It's like we just want to talk with them, because we were looking up other podcasts and like guys like you aren't on that many. Like there's not enough like conversations where you know, creators can listen to other creators talk. I find it's just not
especially
enough.
people on the come up, you know, like I feel like I'm still at the early part of my journey, you know, still trying to get there. So I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Love this. And I feel like people are going to learn a lot from this. So we definitely appreciate you.
I hope so.
Yeah, make sure you follow Julian at Raw Jewels. He didn't mention that, but that's raw.jewels on Instagram. Fireball content. More to come, I'm sure. And if you want to check out our stuff, we're at Render and Repeat Podcast on all the social platforms. And we post these on YouTube. So check out our YouTube as well if you want to watch the video, you know, a little more to see clearly. And we'll see you guys next week.